Hey guys, I'm back. It was an uneventful drive until I hit Illinois, and as always, even though it's a Sunday, driving through downtown Chicago is always horrible, unless it's in the wee hours. Alright, so before we get to the stuff I picked up, I want to show you something I stumbled upon just before I left. Now, a lot of my neighbors, myself included, if we're putting something out that we don't want anymore, it's not so much we're putting it out for the garbage as we're putting it out in the hopes that a neighbor can use it. And I spied this, which was all neatly arranged and put out just a few doors down. Yeah, it's for kids. It's a play school thing. Well, actually, what I first thought it was a parts bin thing. I forget who makes them. It'll come to me. I have some other parts bin system in my basement, and that's where I keep all my electrolytic capacitors. But no, this is a play school. I imagine it's for kids to learn how to put their toys away. What it is 8 small bins and 4 larger bins that go in on this wooden rack like so. I know this is going to be fantastic for storing, well, a few things. I have a few thoughts. One, when I'm working on projects, especially when I have a number of them going on, as I'm working on them, I need somewhere to put the bits and pieces, the nuts, the bolts, the screws, the knobs, as I'm working on it, so I don't lose them and can put them back in. What I usually use is empty coffee cans or yogurt containers or whatnot, or solo cups, but then sometimes they get knocked over or they get mismatched with the projects. So I figure when I'm working on stuff, I can just put all the parts for one project here, for another one here. Also, tubes. I'm endlessly trying to find better ways to store tubes. So I've got a lot of them in storage bins and shelving systems. I'm slowly getting around to labeling them. It's still a lot of work, because sometimes they're two containers deep to go through them all and find the stuff that I need. So what I propose doing on the larger bins is I work on a very narrow range of stuff for the most part, especially with TVs from basically 1946 to 1959 or so. There's a pretty narrow range of tubes that those use. I should put some of them out here. The 6AU6s, 6AL5s, 6AG5s, 5U4s, 6 SN7s, and then the electrostatic type tubes, 25L6s and 12 SN7s, and put those right out here, because that's 90% of what I use. So let's get those right out in the open so I can just reach over and grab them when I need them. And the obscure series strung tubes that I rarely need can get stored away. Heck, my Compactrons are in a storage locker because I really never use those. So that's one item. I don't know if I'll leave the kitty stickers on there or not. Alright, let's start off with the locomotive cabinet. Here's a better look at it. A couple cracks up top. We can easily super glue those. This entire grill area is intact. And then in exactly the same spot as the other cabinet, the one I glued, it's cracked along the entire bottom here, and this corner is broken out. That must have been a weak point. We think it's because the feet screw in down here. They drill holes through the cabinet or some such, or maybe they mold holes into it. And I think it's cracked right between, it must have introduced a weak point on it. So, but that's vastly better than the other one. I just regret that I spent the time gluing it back together. But assuming the front on it fits, because I'm going to reuse the front that I've already got. I don't have the front for this one, but that should match up. There's the Philco. Take a look at that in a minute. I got to pull it out better. I'm just going to be scavenging parts out of that anyways. But here we can see the better view of the Stromberg. I don't think this is the original back. I'm pretty sure this is, I'm sure this is homemade, but that's fine. I don't know if I can't remember if I've got the cabinet by Stromberg Carlson. I can't remember if I got the back on my other set. So this is why these program cabinets are so nice. Whether you're actually going to use it or not, all these 40s era sets fit on it because it's made for you to put a TV on top of it, and it has sturdy casters on it. So whether or not I restore both of the ones I have, I'm going to keep both of them and use them for shop caddies. Actually, let's take a look at the program first. So I came back with 2 back covers, and what's great about the cover, aside from it being nice to have for the cabinet, it has instructions on it about how to adjust all the little thumb screws and whatnot on the optical system to focus it, to center it, correct for geometry errors and whatnot. That is invaluable. I had no idea all this stuff was inside the cover. And when the cover's on, well, 2 things. One, it helps protect the electronics inside. You get the opening for where the projection image comes out, and there's a nice place to wrap around your power cord. I still don't have knobs. So this one is missing its knobs as well. We'll take a look inside in a bit. I'm sure it's not going to be as bad as the other one I've got. Okay, so on top of it is the Stromberg Carlson TV12. Now my other one looks a bit different. I have all the knobs for the other one too. It has a different bezel. In fact, I don't think it has this white piece at all. I think the screen just fills it up. And I suspect this is a replacement picture tube because it's gray frosted, or gray tinted rather, which I doubt it would have had originally. And I don't know if this is good or not. Is it cracked inside? Yeah, I think the glass dial's busted. I think. What's it supposed to be? Yeah, I'm sure it's broken. It's a pretty common issue in the eye tube. And this bezel, it's been a while since I saw my other one, because I got it 10 years ago or something. I don't remember this looking quite like this, but there might be more than one variation of this cabinet. But at any rate, the other one I have, and the guy, he didn't cop to it, but I think the guy I bought it from is the one who sanded it, because he seemed kind of proud of it. I guess he thought the best way to go about refinishing the cabinet was, rather than strip this or scrape it, he sanded it. And on every surface, especially on the corners, it burned all the way through the veneer down to the plywood. And obliterated. Oh no, I think he went around the labels. I mean, it was just horrible. And then it was clear coated, so not even any new mahogany stain or anything like that. So that's the main reason I wanted this. And yeah, it's got pieces missing. I knew that. But I got a good deal on it. So what I'm hoping to do with the other one is some areas where it's not sanded through, to use a heat gun or something and separate the veneer to make patches for this one. The main bad area is here. But, you know, as far as where damage goes, the back corners, the least visible spot, so that's good. And there's a little bit of chipping here. And I think this entire side isn't really good condition. And I you know, honestly, the guy I got it from, I've known for years, and we trade stuff and run into each other all the time. I can't remember if the picture tube's good or not, or what condition the parts are in, but we'll see. The other reason I want it is for the focus control, because that's a really common failure point. And the one place that used to have replacements, Surplus Sale, Nebraska, they've been out for a while. It's a 25-watt 1K rheostat. It's shot in a couple of my other sets. So this chassis is, I don't know if it was made, I don't know if it's exactly the same as the Dumont RA103, but it's very, very similar. I believe Dumont made it for Stromberg. So the same chassis was used in Dumont's, a Dumont Doghouse, and some other models, some Stromberg models, some Crosley's, and maybe one or two others. So it's great to have a parts chassis. In fact, last year I picked up another one. So there's another parts chassis down in here that's really well picked over. What else? Yeah, this guy. So here is replacement RCA tuner. That's another vintage TV enthusiast kindly provided. Missing a fine tuning belt, so all the RCAs I've got are missing a fine tuning belt. But I think this will work, and it has the detent. Is functional in this, I do believe. That's kind of the whole point of it, so we'll see. Also got some Philco knobs from him. And then there's the Philco that I got it for the picture tube. And the guy I got it from said, hey, if you're buying the picture tube for $5 more, you can just have the whole thing, or something like that. It's missing the front. There should be a wooden frame and a piece of glass, and clips into this, and that's all gone. So without that, it's a tough thing to restore. But so it'd be another thing to scavenge parts out of. So really, everything I got, aside from the protogram, the stuff is just they're part sources. That's where you get replacement parts for these sets. Is you scavenge them from other sets. You can't. It's just not practical to fabricate replacement parts or try to find new old stock replacement parts. As you scavenge them. The other crucial thing, or another crucial thing I picked up, is what's in here. And this is a 16 DP4. This should, well, I mean, I've seen it on a list of if you look at the 16 EP4, which is a metal cone picture tube used in a lot of the portholes, porthole models, I believe this is the only replacement substitute listed that doesn't require serious modifications. It's an all glass CRT 16-inch with the same deflection angle, which I think is 70 degrees. Far more common is 90. That's what the 16 GP4 is. Or the older stuff I think was 66 degrees. But this is 70 or 72 or something kind of oddball. Only Zenith used them. Because Zenith had exclusive deal, I believe, with Rawland, which is one of the handful of companies that made original picture tubes, and they eventually bought them, I believe. So they were exclusive to Zenith. So I did not find knobs, but one of my customers has a very nice, I think it's a lovely Zenith porthole set, but it needs some TLC. It has some other issues besides just the picture tube, but I'm really hoping to bring it back. So I guess the last major thing is all the tubes. So when nobody bid on them, I figured, okay, I saw that it was a dozen or so small boxes, and I figured, okay, I'll fit those into my car one way or another because I can pack them all around the other stuff. But I had no idea what was in them because I didn't see the list and I didn't open up any of the boxes, so it was blind bidding. But for $20, yeah. So I did eventually find there was a list printed out of what's in here, but I don't know if I hung on to it. I might have left it at the museum. So right away I was helping them restore a Predicta TV, and I pawed through these and I found almost a full set. So that set has basically all new tubes in it. There are no real beam power tubes. There's no audio power, no 6V6s, no 6L6s, nothing like that. And no horizontal output tubes. No common ones anyways. No 6BG6s or 6CD6s or anything like that. Acromills, that's what I was trying to think of. So yeah, these are nice in that they interlock and you can hang them on something, but for free, this is pretty nice too. So let's see. I'm going to save the protogram for another day because it's still out in the garage. Same with the Philco chassis. But what we can take a look at is some of the items I need to finish off outstanding projects. We'll take a look at some of the tubes I picked up too. And I have to give a huge thanks to the guys that dug this stuff up. So yeah, this RCA tuner should do the trick. Let's grab a knob and make sure it has a detent on it. yes it does. Oh, yes it does. And here's another item. That is the cast metal channel knob for the Philco that I am working on. And here are some other knobs for the Philco. Between what I have and these and some others I picked up there, should have a complete set. And hey, miraculously, while I was moving this stuff in, I found this by the back steps to the basement. That is for my big old RCA projection set, which I moved into the basement recently, and I was reassembling it. And I thought that this had just been lost to time. I didn't realize it fell off while I was moving it. So, man. Another huge thanks to Al, who dug this out of his locomotive set. He's the guy I got the GE Bakelite cabinet from, too. He also kindly dug into the chassis and found the open peaking coil. So, between that and the cabinet and this, I think it's in here, is the brightness control for the locomotive. That is giving me so much trouble. So thank you, Matt, for digging this up. So Matt provided me with the Philco chassis, which has a good CRT, so he says, and this guy, which is the brightness contrast knob. So we'll be checking that out and installing it. So we should have everything for the locomotive. Should have this for the RCA. And I'm currently in the process of replacing that corroded big power resistor here. We'll be talking a lot more about that in a proper video on that segment. So let's leave off with a couple things. Let's check out this CRT that I found that seemingly has an open filament. What I want to do is try heating these pins up and make sure for sure that it is open, and then we can take a look at some of the tubes I picked up. Alright, let's see here. They actually show it on 2 and 8, but I found continuity on 7 and 8. Should be the cathode. Oh, I wonder if could be a cathode heater short. Let's check 2 and 8. Leave it back on. Two. No, there's no continuity on 2 and 8. Yeah, I mean, I can see the leads going right in, and the filament is going to 7 and 8. And that being said, where's the cathode? The cathode is going over to, I think, pin 3. Now, I'm guessing at what some of the connections are. I'm trying to look inside and guess what G1, G2, and K are. But filament, absolutely, the filament's lighting up. And by playing around with the others, yeah, I can get emissions. And I can control those with the cutoff control. So it should be capable of producing something. So that's a win. Just be a little tricky because none of the connections I made match what the data sheet says they should be. So, tubes, got to start somewhere. I pulled out a few trays and boxes. This is very representative of what is in there. I don't know if you guys even recognize most of these numbers. 6JH8, 6JC8, 6JE8. None of those mean anything to me. 6HA5, yeah, I've heard of it, but I don't really run into those too much. 6KT6, not really. Success 4, yep. Sometimes I think there's a bunch of them. I think vertical output tube, like on some Admirals. Not much in those first few boxes. Pulled out some damper tubes, a few horizontal output tubes, but now we're getting to the good stuff. Just the last couple boxes, but this has far and away more useful tubes. Right away I can see a whole bunch of 6AL5s. Those are used in all kinds of stuff. Radios, TVs, test equipment, so pull all those out. See some 6AM8s, 6AN8s. These are combination IF detector tubes. 6AH6, I can use those, I think. 6AK5, some radios and test equipment, use those. Communication receivers. Let's check out what's 6AV5. I think this is the first horizontal output tube. It doesn't have a plate cap. Or no. Yeah, I think this was what was in the Majestic TV I restored a while ago. Somebody said I've ever worked on it, used them. Certainly have a bunch now. 6BY5, I'm not sure what that is. Oh, that's kind of old school looking. Sure looks like either a damper or a full wave rectifier type tube. Check that one out. 6AV5, 6BY5. I'm guessing that's what all these are. Oh, 6AW8, good. Those are video amp tubes. Final video amp. Definitely use those. More 6AK5s. I got some tubes from a hammer while ago. I need a whole bunch of 6AK5s. That's why I think they're used in communication receivers. It's good as a whole bunch of AW8s. A lot of sets use those. Cool, so I'll be plucking a whole lot of tubes out of this box. Found some goodies, a whole mess of 6AL5, 6AW8s, but not as much as I was hoping that I remembered. There are 3 more boxes out in the garage, so I just pulled those in. Let's see. So here's some high voltage rectifiers. So, one J3, one K3, these are equivalent to one B3, one G3. Here's another one. So, looks like I got 3 high voltage rectifiers. The black and white TVs out of the mix. DG4, it's gotta be a color high voltage rectifier. Why not? Looks more like a half-wave rectifier, maybe a damper. I'll have to look that up. Some of those other tubes I looked up, I wasn't sure what it was. It actually can't be a damper or a half-wave rectifier. I mean, basically all dampers are half-wave rectifiers, but some work better in power supplies than others. An AD2, I think these are Focus high voltage rectifiers. What do we got here? Some Compactrons. It's inevitable. You buy a big lot of tubes, you're going to get some Compactrons. And a whole bunch more damper tubes. At least some of these I can use, like a 25AX4 is a little uncommon, but you can use that in a GE locomotive set. I think there's a 25W4 originally, and there's some of those in here, but I think an AX4 works as well, and it's actually a bit superior. Now this Lego box, I think is probably going to be the best. For me. Most people turn their nose up at these because they're oddball 4 and 5 volt tubes. But a lot of these are used in TVs, Predictas in particular, and plenty of others. So, like a 5AQ5, 3B and 6s, bunch of those. Those are the nifty combination IF discriminator tubes that Zenith came up with. Combines basically 3 tubes in one for sound detection. FM sound detection. I've learned how do I know what all these are. Some of it's experience, but I also have this sitting next to me. 1X2, some sets use that for the high voltage rectifier. It's a little baby tube, but they are high voltage rectifiers. There are some big old magnetically deflected sets that use this. Believe it or not. So no real surprises. Those 386s, but certainly enough to satisfy me for what I spent on these. So I'm going to pull out probably 200 or so to keep by the workbench. The rest will get packed away and maybe I'll bring it back to the museum later, donate or sell them off or trade them off. For sure, a lot of these I will likely never use. What really surprised me about all this, either I figure in this stash some boxes got misplaced or they were intentionally pulled out. So the 6AU6 is the most common TV tube, or just tube in general, and there are none. There are also no 6GH8s, which color sets used by the buckets, the early ones. No 6J6s, which a ton are the early sets used in the tuners. When I get stashes of tubes like this, I always find those. And there are none here. Would like to have found some. Could use them. Oh well. Alright, so that's it. Out of all these boxes, 1,600 or so tubes, that's all I pulled out that I could identify as being immediately useful. All the predicted tubes are going to go on a separate tub. I have one just for predicted tubes. Just coincidentally, generally the tubes that those use aren't used in anything else. At least not the kind of stuff I work on, so I got no problem putting those away. And then I'll pull out some of my existing tube stash. I think I'll put all the horizontal output tubes, damper tubes, and rectifier tubes down there. Over here we'll put 6 SN7s, 6 V6, 6 K6 and so on, other beam power tubes, and then put the miniatures up there. And I want to leave as many of these free as possible for project bins. Why am I spending so much time talking about this? Why do you care? Because this has a direct impact on you guys, my viewing audience, because I still spend way too much time looking for stuff. So the more streamlined I can make that, the better for all of us. Oh, I almost forgot the most important item. A can of reinstall smoke. Guaranteed to work if correctly installed. Caution, smoke may escape this container when in use. No warranties. Valid if smoke is lost during transfer to devices. Use with care. Keep away from children. Replacement smoke for radios, TVs, motors, etc. may be used for any electrical device where smoke has escaped. Thank you very much. That was a gift from a viewer. That's going to be it for now. I hope you enjoyed this insanity.